Hey friends, what's happening? What's shaking? What's going on? This is Andy coming to you again from here at my Daily Funk Club headquarters. And yeah, we're going to do another demo video today and have a little bit of fun. So today I want to talk about the instrument that I'm holding right now. This is my Ghost Bass, and Ghost Bass is kind of like my brand of instruments. I've built 9 so far, and this was the one that started it all. I found this body. Someone sent me a link to someone that was having an estate sale, and this body was up for sale for 40 bucks. I noticed that it was a jazz bass body that was already routed for 2 P-bass pickups, so I was interested in it, and I called the people, and they mentioned that they had all this stuff because it was a recently deceased luthier. And so the guy had built this body intending to make something with it, and then he passed. So I was interested by that. And I've always had a fascination with basses. Obviously, you know, I love them. And over the years, I was always tinkering with them and everything like that. And, you know, in fact, my first bass I completely disassembled and put back together just to figure out how it worked. Of course, I screwed it up, but nonetheless, I was interested in figuring out how and why it works. It's always been something that interested me. Besides just playing the instrument, I've always been interested in how to make them and everything. So when I worked at Warwick for 5 years. I learned a lot from those guys. I spent a lot of time down in production with Marcus Spangler and other people paying close attention to what was going on with building the instruments. Make a long story short, I decided once I started the Daily Funk Club, you know, I thought it would be a fun thing to do would be to start building some. So I bought this body, and then my friends at Bartolini hooked me up with these B-axis pickups and a preamp. And, you know, I put it together, and that's kind of what I do. I don't really build instruments, meaning I don't carve bodies and all that, but I get parts that are supplied by my sponsors, like Warmoth and Nordstrand, Bartolini, EMG, Hipshot, Babix, Locks, Security Systems, Black Diamond Strings. All these different brands support me and give me the parts, and then I'm able to build instruments with it. And as a result, I'm able to kind of start to do some branding of my own basses. They're all kind of like Fender basses, but I do weird and unusual things, mixing and matching different unusual things. Like, for example, this one is a jazz bass with 2 P pickups on it. And, you know, I've done lots of other stuff. I did a P bass with a Stingray kind of electronic setup in it. I love reverse headstocks. And I like, you know, like 50 style P basses with 60 style P pickups in them, and jazz necks on P bodies and all that kind of stuff. So there's the story of the Ghost Bass. Oh, and the reason it's called Ghost Bass, the reason I named my brand Ghost Bass, is because in the grain of this wood, when I was finishing it, when I was doing the finishing work, I realized there's like this, in the grain pattern, there's like this face, it's like, ah, and it looks like the face of a ghost. It would be really hard for you to see, but if you look at it closely, you can see it. Alright, so let's hear what this one sounds like. As I mentioned, it has the B-axis, 2 sets of B-axis P-bass pickups in it. The controls are volume, stacked bass, and treble. Let's start with just the front pickup. This is just the front pickup. pickup, P bass kind of sound. Now just the back pickup. Kick-ass back pickup sound. It's kind of like a jazz bass, but with a little bit more of that P low mid bump. So you have that Jocko-ish kind of back pickup thing, but with a considerably more kind of fatness. And then this is both. This is both pickup. So yeah, man, this bass sounds killer, and it turned out fantastic. I've really been pleased with the progress that I've been making in terms of putting these instruments together, doing some finishing work myself, and for sure doing the setups the way that they're really optimal. And that means I've learned how to cut the nut, lower the nut down as low as possible. So down in this low register, it's really, really low, you know, and you don't have to push hard down in the low register, so it feels really broken in. Rounding off the fret edges. I like to do some aging on the back of the neck, make it feel like an old vintage instrument. Yeah, and you know, it's just a really fun thing. And you know, in the scheme of things, putting together your own instrument, really, if you shop around and find parts, you can build an instrument for less than you can pay for a good one yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, because people oftentimes will get the idea to build a bass and then not get around to it, and then they'll sell the parts. So you can find like a Warmoth neck or an all parts neck. These are both really good necks, WD, and you know, they sell for $300 or $400 right, new, but you see them all the time for 150, 175 bucks for sale, and a lot of times they've never even been mounted, or they've been mounted once, and there's the people are selling them. So there, boom, you got a really good neck. And then there's lots of people that make bodies that you can buy, that you can source bodies. You can get different oils and stains and waxes and different types of ways to do natural finishes. That's really easy. It's not messy, doesn't stink, and doesn't make a huge mess in your house. If you don't want to build a spray booth and paint. And then same thing for electronics and hardware. Just look around. You can find stuff. I really think that it's in your best interest to spend the most amount of money on your electronics. Get some good stuff from Nordstrand or Bartolini. EMG, I love EMG. I've used EMG since all the way back to like 1984, so I love to use EMG stuff in some of my instruments. And and good quality hardware, and put it together. One thing that you'll find is that they don't always just go right together. There might be some work that you have to do to make the neck pocket fit properly. You always want a snug neck pocket, not a sloppy one. And maybe do some shimming to get the neck angle just right. And of course, knowing how to intonate the instrument and set the action and the radius. And definitely don't be afraid to get some good files and take this nut down. If you screw up a couple, nuts in the process, it's no big deal. Just order a few, and it's like giving a haircut. You know what I'm saying? If you take off too much, you've gone too far. So the way to do it is to just take the file, take a little bit off, check it. Take a little bit more off, check it. So you don't just kind of go at it really hard and take too much out. Just take a little bit out and then check it, string it up, and then just do that. Be patient, go slow. That's the biggest, most important thing I've learned about assembling instruments is in every way is to just go slow. And if I find a place where I'm frustrated, something isn't fitting right or isn't looking right, I don't force things. Oftentimes I just set it aside and come back another day. And I don't feel rushed with it at all. And the result is the quality of the basses that I'm making is much better all the way. Like this one, I could have done a lot better job of the sanding process. I was impatient. I wanted to get the oil on it, and I wanted to finish it and put it together. And I didn't sand it as good as I could have down in here. And that's a hard place. You have to get some sandpaper and cut it into strips. And there's a trick to getting this sanded really well down in these nooks and crannies and stuff. And at that time, I was too impatient, and the result is, it's not as good as it could be. On the other instruments that I've done, I've really taken my time to make them as perfect as I can. But this one's special because it's the first one. I'm playing through the Mesa Boogie Strategy 888 tube head, so this is going to be it's going to be a very true and natural tube sound. So it doesn't have that scooped hi-fi solid state kind of a sound to it. It's all tube. So I love that tube chime. Alright, so thanks for watching this video, and thanks for watching all the videos. And yeah, hey, if you feel like it, round up some parts and build yourself a bass and think of a cool name for it. I got lucky because the ghost was in the grain of this bass, and so that's where I got the name Ghost Bass. And then I had Extreme Creations make me these really cool neck mounting plates and headstock logo plates. Those are from Extreme Creations. So yeah, start your own bass brand. All right, friends. Peace. See you next time.